G'day, this is Cece, and today I wanted to talk about really my experience with trying to choose healthier ingredients, and it can seem really overwhelming. There's so many options, and but what I found, it was really interesting because when my eldest was very small, I discovered the GAPS diet, and I had to put her on quite a strict protocol for a while to do some gut healing. And what I found was it actually simplified cooking. So I want you to sort of embrace the idea that making substitutions and going to some healthier options doesn't have to be super overwhelming. Oh my goodness, all these, because actually for me, it brought my options down to here, and making things became really simple because I only had a few things to draw from. I only used a very small repertoire of ingredients, and it kept life really simple. So don't go into overwhelm of like, oh, I have to learn how to do everything different. And it can be a really good way to start is whatever you want to make. Look for a paleo version. Just Google paleo brownies or paleo whatever. That's a really good way to start because you'll just get some of those tweaks into the recipe. So I tend to use buckwheat flour. If I'm going to use flour, it's significantly less inflammatory than most other flours. I don't use processed sugar, so any sugar in a recipe comes from fruit, or we do use honey. You can substitute out honey even if you're vegan. So dates are really good, bananas really good, any kind of fruit can be really good. And so it's really, like, I don't know if you saw me at the end of my video the other day with my muffin. It was literally bananas and zucchini, and I did use an egg, but you can use wetted chia seeds instead if you really need to be away from animal products. And buckwheat flour and a bit of almond meal, and that's about it, a bit of honey. So it is a different way of thinking and being, but it can actually be really liberating when you remove so many other ingredients and you're just left with this little collection of buckwheat flour, dates and bananas. And yeah, we make pretty much everything, and there's a lot of milk substitutes now, so you can easily, particularly in cooking, substitute in an almond milk or a coconut milk or something else. So the main things when we went GAPS is gut and psychology syndrome. So someone took note of the link between gut health and mental health, and they wanted to address some behavioural issues with their child, and had a lot of success with changing the diet and changing the gut flora and the health of the gut, because the gut can become leaky, which is where you get food intolerances. So gut and psychology syndrome, it's a really interesting read, and it really started me just stripping away a lot of the inflammatory foods out of our diet. So inflammatory foods, sugar is right up there. Most grains are quite inflammatory, particularly wheat and corn. Soy can be quite inflammatory, and dairy as well. Well, dairy is a mixed bag as well, because it causes a lot of congestion in the body. So if you're someone who struggles with any kind of build up, sinus issues, phlegm, mucus, allergies, anything like that, dairy is going to add to that problem. So it's quite mucus producing. So it's really good one to avoid. So for me, I stripped away all those inflammatory things. Now, why do I want to strip away inflammatory things? Inflammation is the precursor of every modern Western illness. So chronic inflammation is a natural immune response when you're fighting something, but we live in an inflammatory response now. Like, we live such busy, stressful lives, overwhelmed with so many inflammatory, chemical, environmental stimuli, that our bodies are permanently in this inflammatory response, and that actually leads to cell degradation. Things start to break down when you're in that response all the time. Your body can't keep up with the amount of damage. So we really want to try and minimize the amount of inflammation in the body. And so simple dietary changes can really help that. Now, we do eat a lot of fresh fruit and salad, and seeds, and you know, just whole food. It's really simple to go back to basics, and those things aren't going to be inflammatory. But in terms of like trying to prepare something else food-wise, it's not as challenging as you initially think to start making a couple of substitutions. And like I said, I invite you to just, whatever you want to make, just look for a paleo version to start with. That's a really simple way to have someone guide you through some of those substitutions. But it clears away so many other ingredients. I used to have so much in my cupboard, and I'd be like, oh, I have no idea where to start. What do I do to make something? And then when I took like 90% of those ingredients away and went, all right, we don't use any of those anymore, this is what I've got, it became really, really straightforward. So that was my experience. So don't give up. It may not be as bad as you think. And so I just wanted to share that it sometimes feels a lot scarier and more daunting than it actually is. So I would love to hear some of your favorite recipes that are healthy and simple, and what you've learned to substitute, what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. The day I made pancakes with just bananas and soaked chia seeds because I didn't have any eggs left, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. The kids loved it. So also don't assume what they will and won't love, because sometimes we put our expectations onto them and we defeat ourselves before we've even started, because they can surprise us. All right, have an awesome day, everyone.